I feel like I'm just a regular person.
Meet Myles Grimmett, a 15-year-old sophomore JV basketball player from Elyria High School, who just wants to be like everyone else.
I have in front of me like just about what anybody else would have. I have just a regular future.
I mean, everybody gravitates towards Myles.
But when you learn about Myles Grimmett's life, you quickly realize there's nothing regular about it. It's a life story that began 10 years ago when Myles was just 5, a story he might just as soon forget.
He doesn't really want his situation known. He has shied away from the publicity, from the acknowledgement. Myles just wants to work for what he gets.
I would have never guessed in a million years that he went through that 10 years ago.
What Myles went through turned out to be every parent's worst nightmare.
So he was at daycare. He hit his arm on the wall. So that night we just pretty much aced it. And I just thought the next day, he'd be fine. And then he was complaining the next day. And they did an x-ray. And like I said, we didn't even leave the parking lot. And she was already calling me to come back. My heart dropped. Definitely the scariest time in my life.
X-rays revealed a large mass on Myles' upper right arm, a rare form of bone cancer known as osteosarcoma. Less than 1,000 cases are reported annually in the U.S., most common in kids and teens due to rapidly growing bones.
When we see young children and they are diagnosed with a potential cancer of the bone, there's obviously a lot of emotions that are flying through our heads. They're growing and the anatomy is very small. So you have to start to think outside the box.
That outside-the-box thinking led Dr. Mesko to consider a very rare and extremely challenging procedure.
First, our priority is we need to make it so that this kid has the best chance at living a full life, graduating from high school, graduating from college, having a family. And then second is how can we get them there by using the limb that God gave them in a way that we can reconstruct it. I want to take part of his leg and turn it into his arm. I was met with wide eyes and kind of shocked.
But not from young Myles. What happened next is something the doctor will never forget.
The day that I saw him in the office before surgery, I asked him, "Myles, do you know what we're doing?" And he took a piece of paper and he drew a picture of a body, self-portrait, where he drew a cancer up in his right shoulder. He also drew 2 bones in his left leg, a big bone, the tibia, and the small bone, the fibula. And he drew an arrow, taking the small bone and transposing it up into the shoulder area. The comprehension told me that he was a really special kid.
He was always making me laugh. He was a good guy, very good guy.
It was the first time I'd ever performed that. In the world of orthopedic oncology, we rarely do the same surgery twice. Cancer doesn't give us an option of where it decides to grow. When we enter the operating room, our plastic surgeon starts with making an incision right over the fibula and harvests the fibula and does so with such precision and technique by taking the blood vessels that supply that fibula and give it life. These are the size of probably half the diameter of a spaghetti noodle, and that's what our plastic surgeons with their dexterity are doing under a microscope when they harvest it. There's a big osteosarcoma there, a big nasty mass. It's around some nerves, and we measure precisely to figure out that marrow margin that we have to get. We make the cut, we do our bone, and we remove this cancer. And so now we've done the single most important thing, and that's getting the cancer out cleanly. Now we have this bone that the plastic surgeons borrowed, and we shape it down and contour it so it fits in this tiny little remnant area of bone down by the elbow. We take a little plate and screws, and we fix that bone so it stays clear, and then we connect the remnant ligaments and tendons to recreate that rotator cuff of the shoulder and close everything over top and close it up. And we did that for 19 hours. This surgery lasted for 19 hours. I think the most important part from my standpoint is I was able to get the cancer out cleanly, which gives Myles a fighting chance at a normal life.
But Myles wasn't quite out of the woods yet, with a full year of chemo ahead of him. His older brother Rondell stepped right up to provide some special brotherly support.
Once I really got to understanding what was going on, I just wanted to make him feel like normal. I was a little extra careful with him because of it. But yeah, he was still a little knucklehead.
Now nearly 10 years removed from surgery, Myles has a phenomenal story. but he'd rather do his talking on the basketball court.
Him loving the game of basketball, so I think that kind of took his mind away from what happened.
He's just a really positive, upbeat kid. You know, he's got this smile where, you know, he's just happy-go-lucky guy, determined to be good at what he's doing.
Myles definitely has a special place in our heart, you know, in our program. You know, doing this for 18 years, this is a new situation for us. You know, that wow factor when we found out. And I think Myles fits that Courage Award to a T.
Myles had metastatic osteosarcoma. After we removed the cancer out of his arm, about a year later, he had a spot in his lung. And when that occurs, the prognosis goes down to less than a 20% survival rate at 5 years. Myles is almost 10 years out. I mean, to a point where he's now in surveillance mode. Never in 1,000 years would I have dreamt that he's playing basketball as a freshman on JV, starting on his AAU basketball team, and like, he's alive to tell his story today, which I think is unbelievable. So yeah, I mean, this is a celebration on every end of the spectrum.
To Myles Grimmett, courage is pretty simple. Total commitment, no excuses, and never ever give up.
I know what happened to me, so I feel like I just need to work a little bit harder. If you just really try your hardest, there's obviously going to be some things you can't do, but there's many things you can still do, even if you just try.
Nothing stopped him yet. So I feel like he can be that player that can go to college and succeed on the basketball level. Like I say, he's just a good kid, man. And I think Myles really does deserve this award, like I said, for what he's overcome and where he's at now.
Here we are one day thinking, who knows if he'll make it from one day to the next, and now he's in high school and almost grown, and he literally taught himself how to be left-handed. Myles is amazing.